Hey guys, I'm just here. I figured I would do a Christian denomination tier list. I know that this isn't the most original thing, but it's popular, and more importantly though, it's fun. It's really fun to do stuff like this. And it gets a fair amount of views. I know it's kind of clickbaity, but I'm going to try and do the best I can, be as honest as I can here, and try and hammer out how I'd rank Christian denominations here. So we have S, then A, B, C, D, E, F, and I wouldn't even call them Christian. So I think like non-Trinitarian stuff, right, would fall under that. So anyway, without further ado, let's start. So I'm going to start with my own denomination, the Catholic Church, and I'm going to put it in S. Well, mostly because I believe it's true. Next up, we have Presbyterians. Now, Presbyterians are interesting. They're kind of like Calvinist Scots, like a Scottish Calvinist denomination. What's most interesting about them to me is their polity. It's kind of like this weird thing where they kind of just made it up and claimed that it was what they did in the early church. Presbyter, of course, means elder in Greek. I personally believe that clearly in the New Testament that there's an episcopal polity going on, and we can see that as all the other Christian denominations until the Reformation had that polity. But anyway, Presbyterians kind of remind me of like Mormons or Jehovah's Witnesses, at least in their polity, because it's just kind of like made up out of whole cloth. But anyway, I'm going to put them in F because the Catholic Church is a true faith, and there's no salvation outside the Catholic Church. So we'll put Presbyterians in F because you can't be saved by being a Presbyterian. Next up, I kind of noticed that one denomination kind of gets 3 slots here. And so that is Oriental Orthodox, Armenian Orthodox, and Coptic Orthodox. They're all kind of the same thing. These are Christians that only adhere to the first 3 ecumenical councils. They believe Chalcedon was not a true council. Some pretty weird views on Christology. Some people say that it's just kind of like a confusion of languages. It's kind of sad for this denomination because they didn't really have that much a chance, and they've been kind of like persecuted throughout their history by Muslims. But just kind of, I like them better than Presbyterians because they have, valid bishops, valid sacraments. Kind of something as cool as if you're Catholic, there are rites in the church, in the Eastern Catholic Church, that are the same liturgical rites that are celebrated there in the Eastern Orthodox, or the Oriental Orthodox, I should say, Church. We'll get to the Eastern Orthodox in a little bit here. But anyway, the thing about it is that if you're a Catholic, you can be saved by your church because it's the one true church. If you're Oriental Orthodox, nah, you can't because it's a false church and it's not the true church founded by Jesus Christ. So I'll put Coptic Orthodox there and Armenian Orthodox because they're all the same denomination, smack dab right there in F. Because, you can't be saved by them. Next up, we have Moravians. Moravians are kind of interesting. They're like Protestants that predate the Protestant Reformation. Very pietist, influential on Lutheranism. Just kind of like this interesting church. They're from Bohemia. But you know what? You can't be saved because the Catholic Church is the one true church founded by Jesus Christ. It's the Ark of Salvation. So that means Moravians they're going to have to go to F tier because you can't be saved by being Moravian. Next up, we have non-denominational, right? Non-denominational is interesting because if you're Christian, not being part of a denomination is impossible. It's like having hair, but saying that you have no hair color. You just have to have a denomination. So by definition, non-denominationals are a denomination. And they're kind of just like Baptists, but more modernist. Like, not modernist theologically, but modern in terms of like architecture and how they kind of like use their sacraments, or I guess you could say ordinances. But anyway, again, kind of a problem here. You can't be saved by being non-denominational, so I'm going to put it in F tier. Next up, we have Anglican. Anglican is probably my favorite outside the Catholic Church here, just because they're Western Christian. Theologically, they have a lot of similarities, and liturgically with Catholicism. The joke is, of course, Anglicans are Catholic light because you don't have to go to confession, but you get to have all the great liturgy, and you get to have Western theology. There's a bunch of different types of Anglicans. There's evangelical Anglicans, Anglo-Catholic Anglicans, which of course is my favorite, and mid-church Anglicans, I guess you could say, and super liberal feminist Anglicans, I guess. But just kind of an interesting church with an interesting history. And I guess it's kind of hard to define. Are they really Protestant? Are they something else? Really respect the King James Bible, even respect the Book of Common Prayer. But at the end of the day, you can't be saved by being an Anglican, even if you're an Anglo-Catholic. So flat out slamming that down an F right there. Next up, we have Pentecostal. Pentecostals, interesting. You could say that there's a whole movement right now throughout all of Christianity due to the emergence of Pentecostals on the international stage following the Azusa Street revival. I personally don't think that Pentecostalism starts there, though. I think it has a long history in Anglosphere Protestantism, definitely some history in the holiness movement. But you know what? The thing about it is that you can be a charismatic Catholic, and that's kind of weird to me. But you know, if you're a charismatic Catholic, you can be saved because you're in the true church of Jesus Christ. It's founded by our Lord and Savior, the incarnate Word of God, on His death, and then at Pentecost it was founded by Him. But Pentecostal, if you're not a charismatic Catholic, if you're just a Pentecostal, you can't be saved. So I'm going to slap it down there an F. This is you can't be saved by being in this tier. This is, true tier right up here, S. Sole arc of salvation, founded by our Lord. The only way that you can be saved. But anyway, let's continue on here. So next up we have Lutherans. Lutherans are, maybe after Anglicans, my next favorite. I really like what Luther said about other religions. I think it was really strong, really powerful, really brave. Really rings true to this day, especially in the West and in the United States. Just really prescient writings on other religions. But again, I come from Montana. There's a lot of Lutherans here. I really like how some of them keep their liturgical practices. I like kind of like the Augsburg Catholics, as they call them. Kind of like those guys. And I know that when I talk a lot about Scripture and I talk about its importance and its primacy, I do believe tradition is deeply important as well. But I think it's really important that we talk about Scripture. Kind of get nervous sometimes. People are going to call me a Lutheran. But you know what, the thing about it is that Lutheranism was condemned, and you can't be a Lutheran and be saved because it's a condemned heresy, and you have to be a member of the true church founded by Jesus Christ to be saved. So I'm going to slap down Lutherans an F right there. Next up, I'll pick off this side. We got Mennonites. It seems to be the only Anabaptists that they put here. There's a whole bunch of Anabaptists. Most of them are communal. Some of them reject technology, or reject a handful of technologies. In Montana, we have a lot of Hutterites. Mennonites are the biggest Anabaptists, called Anabaptists because, rebaptizers, because they don't believe in infant baptism. But anyway, they say that this explosive growth with like the Amish and the Hutterites and stricter Mennonites. So they kind of have a positive future, especially in the low birth rates that we have now in society. But, being a Mennonite and being an Anabaptist, that's condemned because baptism is what saves you, not individual conversion, but the actual sacrament of baptism, that's what saves you. Whether it's baptism of blood or even baptism of desire, but the real sacrament of baptism, that's what saves you, not your internal belief, you could say. And so this kind of sect here, it's condemned, and you can't be saved by being a Mennonite. So I'm going to have to slap them, sadly, down there in F. Next up, I'll pick off this side again. Quakers. Some people that don't like Quakers say that you could slap them down here and wouldn't even call them Christian category. And that really has to do with this idea that they kind of believe in continuing revelation. I don't know if I would go that far. That kind of just seems like slander. That kind of just seem like weird Protestants. So the thing about it is they're not members of the one true church founded by Jesus Christ. So I'm going to slap them down an F because you can't be saved by being a Quaker. Next up, we have Baptists. Baptists are interesting because they have a different history, but they come to the same conclusions as Mennonites, believing that child baptism and infant baptism is not valid. And in fact, baptism isn't really real. It's just like a proclamation of your faith in Jesus. And it's just kind of symbolic. Anyway, I respect Baptists in America because they really kind of fight the culture war, go out there and evangelize. I'm a big Chick Tract fan, even if it hates on the true church. I just really like those comics. I just kind of like independent comics in general. Anyways, but at the end of the day, the thing is, you can't be saved by being a Baptist. So unfortunately, F tier again. This is so common. All this stuff is getting F tier. I honestly didn't plan it this way. I thought maybe there'd be stuff in A and B and C and D. It looks like everything's just in F tier. Anyway, let's continue. Now we have Methodists. Methodists are interesting because they're a takeoff of Anglicans. They're kind of like pietist Anglicans. There's a whole movement in Protestantism in the 1700s called Pietism within Moravians and Lutherans, but the Pietist branch in Anglicanism largely broke off and became Methodists. And Methodists are also interesting because they kind of like, they have an episcopal polity, but they don't really believe there's necessarily a difference between the orders that bishops receive and the orders that priests would receive. And so the founders of Methodists that became their first bishops are actually just priests, and then when they left the Anglican Church, they said they're bishops. So it's kind of interesting. I like their Arminianism, their idea of total sanctification. That's pretty cool. I like it. Kind of reminds me of some Catholic concepts, but the problem is that, you know, the Catholic Church, you can truly be sanctified there because you can be a saint because actual grace proceeds within that church. God may give a Methodist grace, but not through the body of their church, through Methodism itself. So I'm going to slap Methodist down there in F because it's not a way that you can be saved. You can only be saved by being Catholic. Anyway, we got Eastern Orthodox. Eastern Orthodox, a lot of people would say, I should put it right up there. It was pretty good. You know, I sad to say, I do kind of like Anglicans better than Eastern Orthodox. I like their liturgy better, I like their theology better. I know Anglicans don't have valid sacraments, and Orthodox do. So that's definitely a plus I'd give to the Orthodox. They have valid sacraments. But the other thing is Orthodoxy's been, Eastern Orthodoxy, I should say, not Orthodoxy, or maybe Greek Christianity. That's been condemned in numerous ecumenical councils, actually, multiple times. And usually the body of the Greek church will reunite with the main body of the Catholic Church for a few decades. And then there's something political that would always happen, usually from the Byzantine emperors, and then they break off. And it's really kind of sad that they're separated from us. But anyway, so what's pretty cool is that in the Catholic Church, we have this thing called Eastern churches. And so we can celebrate the liturgy, the ancient liturgies of the Greeks. You can be Byzantine Catholic. I'm not a Byzantine Catholic, and I've never been there. I kind of live in Montana, and there's not very many Eastern churches by me. But I just find that cool. And so when everybody's like, oh, be Orthodox, bro, it's like, well, why would I do that? Because if I became Orthodox, I wouldn't be able to be saved because I wouldn't be in the true church. And I'd be in a church that's been condemned for being heretical in multiple ecumenical councils. And I could have the same liturgy and everything and be a Byzantine Catholic. So sad to say, even though it's kind of cool, I'm going to have to slap them down here in F. Next up, we have Seventh-day Adventists. Seventh-day Adventists, kind of like Baptists. I kind of respect them for standing up and fighting the culture war. Did a little accidental right click there. So anyway, really respect these guys for fighting the culture war. They're kind of odd sometimes. Kind of separate themselves from the rest of society. And, you know, I heard that some of them historically are non-Trinitarian, but they're largely Trinitarian now. So I could slap that down there and wouldn't even call them Christian. But, you know, I think they deserve being Christian. I mean, the vast majority of them are Trinitarian. I think pretty much all of them are. these days at least. So anyway, we have Dutch Reformed. Dutch Reformed are like the Dutch Calvinists. So anyway, kind of interesting, really similar to Presbyterians. It can be pretty authoritarian sometimes in their beliefs, but you know what? When it comes to this, is that Calvinism has been condemned at the Council of Trent, and so it's heresy, and you got to be a member of the true church and not profess a heresy. So that means that Dutch Reformed, you go an F because I can't be saved if I'm Dutch Reformed. Congregationalists are kind of interesting because there's only one difference between a Congregationalist and a Baptist, and that's, do you believe in infant baptism? So Congregationalists are basically Baptists that believe in infant baptism. They have the same polity, really loose and everything. The thing is that Baptists just, for whatever reason, they turned out to be much more socially conservative and faithful to traditional Christianity, while Congregationalists kind of went off the deep end and became super liberal. But anyway, kind of like this interesting Protestant movement. Members of my family are Congregationalists. But the thing about it is you can't be saved if you're Congregational. So I'm going to have to slap them right smack dab there in F. Next up we have the Nazarene Holiness Movement. Kind of more a stricter form of Methodists. I kind of think Pentecostals and holiness are very similar. Again, they're really strict, really faithful, really orthodox often, really push back against the modern world. So I'm going to have to say I respect their fight against secularism, respect again their fight against the modern culture. But the thing about it is that you can't be saved by being a Nazarene or a holiness. So I'm going to slap them down there. F. Next we have Churches of Christ. Churches of Christ are Protestant. I don't even know that much about them, but who even cares, because they're not Catholics, so can't be saved by being one of them. So it doesn't matter. I can slap them down right smack dab there in F. So anyway, I'm kind of surprised how this turned out. It's kind of only used 2 tiers, so I had Catholic, S tier obviously, because there's no salvation outside the church. It's the one true church. Historically, it all makes sense. Just everything, got to believe that to be saved. Of course, we work out our faith in fear and trembling. We don't really believe in all this, like, where are these silly billies? Like silly billies like these guys that kind of believe that you can know that you're saved concretely while you live on earth, but that's kind of just garbage. Anyway, I thought maybe I'd get some, won't even call them Christian, but there wasn't really any like Jehovah's Witnesses or Mormons or like Oneness Pentecostals, so I wasn't really able to use this category. So anyway, I hope you guys like this tier ranking. I'm kind of surprised how it turned out, but please like and subscribe and tell me where you'd place your own in your own tier. Thanks, guys.